Hello everyone, John Donnelly's my name from your Holistic Academy. A very special guest today with me, Tunney Ware. How are you doing today, Lee?
I'm doing well, thanks, John.
It's great to get the opportunity, Lee. I met you back in, I think it was April or May, and we were introduced to each other on the Outstanding Network with Pat Slattery. Pat's a good friend of yours as well as mine, yeah?
That's right, yeah. He's a good guy, and so are you.
Thank you, Lee. And I was really interested, Lee, in your own project, which is Transform. It's the name of your coaching. So can you tell me a little bit about the name Transform?
I struggle with the name, probably like most people do, because I wanted a name that actually encompassed what I do. And some people do growth, some people do moving beyond comfort zones and mindsets. My whole ethos is to take you from the who you are to the who you want to be, or your business from the business it's at to where you want to be. So I'm more interested in vision and passion. So that's why I call it Transform, because most people are caught where they've lost their passion. Their dream is just an imagined reality, and they don't know how to sometimes take it from inside into the real world or put the message in behind it. So Transform, in my opinion, encompasses everything I do and every client I work with. It transforms their life or their perspective, and just brings dreams into reality, really. Some will say makes goals into miracles.
Yeah, I love that, Lee. And one of the things I was reading about you, Lee, on your was about a serial entrepreneur and mindset coach. Lee doesn't think outside the box. When it comes to Lee, there is no box. I love that. I love that description, Lee. So you're a thought leader. Would that be an accurate description?
Yeah, I'd say so. Like, I don't know what tags people put on you. I'm a free thinker.
Free thinker.
Yeah, that's what I would say. I don't like anything that encompasses on your thoughts or on your emotions, to a point that, in my mind, every human being is free, emotionally, spiritually, biologically, and intellectually. I think some of the things we learn calibrate our thinking to the point where we feel we either have no choice, and we create these internal psychological barriers, or metaphors in our internal world from our skin in. You've heard me say that before, John, yeah. Skin in, yeah. Because that's your domain. So I would say it's all imagined anyway, because you can't show a thought, you can't see a feeling. We know they're all real, but it's all imagined anyway. So why imagine anything in your internal world that would restrict you, confine you, or define you? Yeah. So it transforms about moving from that confines, that box. Yeah, to me, there is no box. Why have the box in the first place? And it sounds just words, but freedom and liberty, yeah, intellectually or in every part of your being, and not just in this lifetime. Since the dawn of your creation, since the essence of your universe, since the essence of your creation in the universe, right the way through. So in a sense, because of people's beliefs and sort of insights into who they are, maybe they might have been here several times before, and that they're carrying, I don't know, baggage, not just from this lifetime, from other lifetimes. So it's the holistic approach to it. How do you encompass every part of the human? So you're not just dealing with the transformation of this lifetime, you're dealing with the transformation of their essence within the universe. So it's transforms at a much higher level, depending on where the individual is. They might just be a mindset. So the box, in my mind, shouldn't exist.
Yeah, I love that, Lee. So you're what we'd call a lifelong student of learning, Lee. I mean, you've gathered these insights over a lifetime of experience of learning, and you're a continual student of life. Yeah.
Well, definitely, and I've learned. Well, even beside me, there's just 4 books I bought this month here, and I have dyslexia, so reading's hard for me. I'm always learning, and sometimes I won't read the whole book. I'm just looking for a piece of information in it. I think I'm a lifelong student of learning, but I'm also how would you put it? I think in many ways we forgot who we are as a human race or a human being, and we've got too many rules around us, and a lot of them sort of equate to how we bring ourselves into the marketplace, and we don't quantify that in a sense as in that's the marketplace.
Yeah.
That isn't who we are. What we do is not who we are. And I think some people get caught up in the do, yeah, and so I'm an accountant. It's like, that's who I am, yeah. I'm a doctor, that's who I am. It's not, that's what they do.
Yeah.
And I think where a lot of the corruption inside, that feeling, the feelings of stuck or feelings of loss or confusion or sadness, yeah, or lack of inspiration, that comes from that corruption, because we're more focused on the do that's outside our skin rather than who we are inside our skin, and what, let's say, all of us together make up one big jigsaw puzzle. So each one of us is an individual piece. If we get corrupted inside or confused inside or stuck inside, then our piece isn't vibrating or communicating at the right level, which means we're of no use to ourselves or other people. All we can do is do the do. Well, that's just, in my opinion, for survival mindset. Most people call it earning a living.
Yeah.
In my world, I'll transcribe that for you, and that not to be patronising. I don't believe any one of us are here to earn our living, as in to keep the cave warm, the lights on, and to feed.
Yeah.
That's just basic needs. So I don't think our do, what we're here to do on this planet, is not just to feed and keep ourselves warm. That's just our basic needs. A lot of the systems and the education system in that learning process are designed to just do the do, so you can pay the mortgage or pay the bills, have a nice car, where that's the box to me.
Yeah.
We're far more than that.
Yeah.
But we're in many ways taught that, in a sense, the score we get at school, or that will determine what job we can get. The job we get determines the career we have. The career we have will determine the food, the clothes, where we're the holidays we take, where we have children, how many we have, where we go on holiday, the people we mix with. So the system's there. And I'm not saying it in a negative way. It's just, but that's outside. But inside, we can't take the outside rules and regulations across the threshold of our skin internally, because when we do, that's what corrupts our internal data. And that's where we get lost and frustrated and confused. Whether that makes sense, John, I'm just talking, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, I think it comes from, I guess, from your early days because you said that you've never been employed. You've never
had a job, sir. I've worked, but I've never had to answer to anybody. Yeah. So obviously I grew up on a farm, grew up in a family business, so probably the same as most young people, knuckled down and chipped in, had to do things that probably I didn't like or didn't want to do. But I've had my own business since I was 12 years old. I had my second business at 14, my third at 16, and I've been, some might say, self-employed. Yeah, that's another word I think that, in my opinion, is the wrong analogy. I never created a job for myself. So one, I've never had a job, nor did I create a business where I had a job, as in where I worked for myself.
Yeah.
I've always focused on what it was I wanted to do in life, and money was a tool, like a hammer or a chisel, and how do I utilize the do, as in what is it I'm bringing to the marketplace for the exchange of currency to enable me to do what I wanted to do. I'm more focused on internal currency rather than monetary. I'm more interested in how you can help an individual move. My style doesn't suit everybody because I call people out on themselves.
Yeah.
So, and that can be a very challenging conversation sometimes, because when you've got somebody who's stuck, people don't know how to disagree with themselves. So whatever, so in Henry Ford's words, if you think you can or you think you can't, then you're right. But then we go into the defense of why we can't do it, the story why we can't do it, whether we're a single parent or whether we haven't got the education. We've got 1,000 reasons why. Bear in mind, reasons in my mind are part of mind or mindset. Got 1,000 reasons why we can't do X, Y, or Z. However, we might have a driving passion that literally keeps bubbling up inside. And the passion doesn't agree with the mind. The passion says, well, I feel like this is what I should be able to do. I should be doing this, but I don't know how to do it. It's mind. So a lot of the times it's a conflict between mind and heart, or mind and body, and mind and biology. And some work on different levels. Some people make their decisions from their heart. Some make it on how their gut feels. Some make it on how exciting it is, spirit. Some make it on how logical it is. The art is to get all four united and aligned. And when they're aligned, then you have unity, you have alliance, you have integrity. Because that's, to me, what integrity is. When every part of your existence since the dawn of creation is aligned. Some call it enlightenment. Some call it the flow. But if you're in conflict, your head knows what you've got to do, but you can't do the do, then that's biology that's blocking you. So I could talk about it all day, John. Whether it's what your listeners want to hear, I don't know.
I think it's incredible. I love this stuff here. So the freedom to be yourself anytime, any place, anywhere. That's what you do. You give people that freedom.
And just in many ways, I suppose, and it sounds like a line, it sounds like the Martini advert years ago, yeah? But what I mean by it, or what I think, whoever, I'm not sure it's my content you're reading from or somebody else's.
That's one of your lines,
Yeah, because very, very awkward sometimes to find the right words where it means something to people. Freedom is more a biological term, in my opinion, as in, am I chained or shackled? But that isn't the type of freedom we're on about. The freedom to be yourself anytime, any place, anywhere, regardless of who is in front of you or the situation you're in. The freedom I'm on about is that intellectual or emotional or spiritual liberty, where I'm inferior to no human being. I'm inferior to no God. That to me, and it's not I'm superior to any human being or I'm superior to any God. That value we put on things is we're all have the same value. So I say statements sometimes that took me years to probably get the insight to work them out and define it in a sentence. But sometimes they can probably be, some would say to me, too deep. So for example, what enables you to disable you? So what is it you think or feel that literally disables you? Or the common language would be you've got to believe in yourself. And that seems to be the common analogy, that as long as you believe in yourself, then you can trust yourself. And if you can trust yourself, then you can do the do. You can bring your passion to the world. Where I would say beliefs are lies. Because if beliefs were truths, they'd be called the truth. But they're not true, because that's why they're called beliefs. So I wouldn't advise or enable anybody to believe in themselves. Because belief to me is for external. It's for me I can believe in you. You can believe in me. I don't know how to believe in myself. And the reason I don't know how to believe in myself, because I'm already within myself. The language is I believe in you, not I believe in the exterior of you. So it means I have a conception, I have an expectation of what you are most capable of doing. And if I believe that's congruent with what you're going to do, then I believe in you. If you say I'm going to do X and I think that you're unable to do that for whatever reason, then I cannot believe in you. So belief is more about, it's not even on trust, where truth is a different level. Truth is that alignment. That congruency, it's either like a knowing. So, for example, John,
Yeah.
I know your name. I've just used it, but what's your name?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your name?
Yeah. John. Yeah.
John. Do you think your name's John? Do you believe your name's John, or do you know your name's John?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which one?
I guess I believe. Yeah.
So, so you believe it's John. So then I would say, so you don't know it's John then.
Yeah.
Which now it makes it sound like there's a doubt. So, for instance, do you think you're talking to me on here? Do you believe you're talking to me? Or do you know you're talking to me on here?
Yeah. Yeah. I know you. I know I'm talking to you. Yeah.
Right. Now, that's the difference between three mindsets. When you think something, it's different to, so a thought is different to an opinion is different to a belief, and a belief is different to a knowing. Yeah. And a personal knowing is different to a universal truth.
Yeah.
A universal truth, this is your life, you breathe for you, you think for you, you decide for you, every part of your existence since the dawn of creation is you, which means you already have liberty and freedom, but we come into this world to learn how to have liberty and freedom. You were born with it, it's part of your universal right. It's not a God-given right. It's not a society right, it's your right. But then we learn how to do, how to bring our passion or intellect to society, and we have to put it in these little niches so people hear us. And sometimes I think the greatest part of us is lost in the translation. So liberty and the freedom to be yourself, any place, anytime, anywhere, is free from other people's judgments, opinions, and expectations. Freedom is to be able to speak your truth and not worry about what anyone else thinks of you, not to have any consequences. If I'm being respectful and I'm not speaking bad about anybody, then I have the right, my universal right, to be myself with every part of my existence and not be here to fulfill your expectations of me or to create an opinion in your mind that you might like me. Yeah. I like to be liked. I don't need it. Yeah. So that's what I mean by the liberty and freedom, is to show up as your true essence. Yeah. Yeah. Free from judgment, free from compromise. You know, I should not have to trade who I am for who you want me to be. Yeah. Yeah. If that makes sense. So to take that mask away and stop showing up, wondering what other people are thinking, sure. What do they think of me? Because that's all anxiety. I know I can't ever know what you're thinking, John. Even when you speak it, I have to believe what you say. I don't know that what you're saying is congruent with what you're thinking. That's why we use body language to see if it's congruent. So congruency is another word externally for alignment. But where we get lost is when we give too much of ourselves away to fulfill other people's expectations. And it's not about sharing. It's not about caring. Like I think we're all empathetic. We want the best for the people we love, and we want the best for our society and our community. However, I should not have to compromise my spirit or my integrity to fulfill societal's needs. Yeah. And that's where, because I think we're moving into a new dawn, a new age, where people's missions and visions and passions are becoming more relevant. And in that space, that integrity, that honor of who you are as a spirit or an individual is very much necessary in these times. But whether I'm coming across in the right way, John, in a roundabout way, I've just said, all I'm messaging is what I believe. Yeah. Yeah, I'm messaging what I know. Yeah, it's the truth of who you are, Lee, and that's you're comfortable in your own truth. That's the message I'm getting from you, and that's the most important thing for you. Well, yeah, personally, as a personal truth, what I mean by the truth, they say the truth will set you free, it's written in scripture, but most people don't know the truth. So, and that's where conflicts of opinions and beliefs happen. The truth is that every human being wants to be happy. Yeah. What takes away your happiness? what other people do external to you, or what they don't do, or what they say, or what they don't say.
Yeah.
So, universal truth is every human being should be somewhat safe. First of all, you have to have safety.
Yeah.
That's what society is. It's an agreement of rules and regulations and laws that we know what to expect. So we don't have the unexpected, so the unexpected gives us stress. So we have a fair idea what to expect. With that expectation, that gives us trust in our community, as long as everybody sticks to the agreement. So if you're driving down the road and there's a white line in the centre of the road, the agreement with that white line is, I'm going to stay on my side and you're going to stay on yours. As long as you do what's expected of you, I remain safe and you remain safe.
Yeah.
But if you cross that white line because you're worried about being late for a meeting, and you put the meeting in front of your life, in front of your family, in front of my family, and you allow pressure or somebody else, the commitment you've made, to override society's rules, then you're putting yourself in danger and me in danger. And that's just an example of how we do it. Sometimes we do it in our own families. We have an opinion of our son or a daughter or a friend, and that opinion we push like the point of a spear. It cuts right through the fabric of what we hold so dear. And all that opinion is an imaginary consequence in the future. So when we speak to our friend or work colleague or partner, it's all future based. Think about when you send your kids to school. Why do you send them to school? You want them to have an education. Why do you want them to have an education? You want them to get a job. Why do you want them to get a job? So they have a safe future. Everything's future based. So when we give our opinion or our judgment, I work with a lot of people that have had, I work with a guy at the minute, 30 years, he's been seeing a trauma counsellor off and on for him. The last 10 years, he's seen him consistently for two times a month. When I first spoke to him and he told me about his problems, bear in mind, the perception is after 30 years, if he can't be helped, he can't be helped. Yeah, logically. So he said, but that's a judgment. That's the box.
Yeah.
He told me about it. I said, oh, fair enough. So he said, what do you think? I said, 6 sessions. He said, sorry. I said, 6 sessions.
Yeah.
He said, how do you know that? I said, well, do you want to deal with this? Yeah. He went, yes. I said, do you want to have your freedom and liberty back? He said, yes. I said, brilliant. I said, it's 6 sessions. I said, if that's unbelievable to you, then it's unbelievable to you. But at some point, you have to make the decision to let go of where you were, where you've been, to go where you want to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Richard Bandler, who developed NLP with John Grinder, would say the map is not the territory. So in other words, for example, his trauma is now a past memory. That's all it is. He's had the experience. It happened. He experienced it. He's still here, still surviving, not living. And is still being controlled by something that happened 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And I said to him, first of all, I'd like to define what trauma is. I said, I worked with a young girl once. I said, there was in the passenger seat of the vehicle. Her mum was in a crash and her mum was decapitated. I said, I worked with that young lady. I said, and that was 12 sessions. I worked with a young lady once. I said that was basically had all the nasty things you could imagine done, even to the point where part of her body was almost cut off.
Yeah.
And I said, that was 18 sessions. I said, and that was when I was about 28 years old. I said, the point is, I said, when you compare what's happened to you, I said, there was one young lad when he was 5 years old. His dad turned on the light switch. There was a gas leak in the house and the house blew up.
Yeah.
His dad died instantly. His mother got severely burnt. She died 3 days later, and the young lad got burnt from the top of his head down to literally just below his knees, to the point that his hands and everything were disfigured. He's still alive today. And when he walked down the street, people used to look at him like there was something wrong with him. And all he was doing was walking down the street because he was that disfigured that even just walking down the street, everybody would notice him. The way that recognition, the negative recognition people had for him outside, affected him inside. He used to go and lock himself in his room and wouldn't come out for days. Yeah. So that to me is trauma. Yeah, traumatic experiences you wouldn't imagine. Yeah. So I said to him, now, does your experience fall in that category? He said, no. So I said, so is your experience trauma or just a negative experience? Yeah. When he compared his experience to those, and bear in mind, it's our own unique experience, so you can hear in the negative and positive. But until he made the evaluation, he couldn't have the freedom or liberty, because just by creating that evaluation, he realised that other people had a much severe journey and were now living a normal life, married. That young fellow at 5 years old, disfigured, he's got 2 kids, married. I had a bad accident about 10 years ago, and the first person that phoned my wife, I was in a wheelchair. They said I'd never walk. Well, at the time they said I'd never walk again. I was lucky to survive or even walk. He was the first person that phoned my wife when he heard about it. That was before, because it was messaged, I think, on social media or through social media, and he was the first person on the phone to my wife. And in no relation. The point I'm trying to make to you is that we're either here to help each other or we're here to compete against each other. And perhaps that's why they call us the human race, because we're in a race with each other. We're gladiators. We're competing. We're putting each other down. We believe we have to put somebody down to put ourselves up. So that liberty and freedom is the box, to me. Throw the box in the bin. If it's not serving your family, and it's not serving you, and it's not serving that inner world, and you're not creating alliances, if you're not creating that synergy, that ecosystem of the right kind of people or the right kind of emotions or feelings in your family, then you're not truly living, you're existing. And you can read any book you want. Like all these books here, you can read pages. But not one of those books will tell you how to get your life in order. Yeah. Because it's your life. Yeah. And until you decide what you want in it and how you want your relationship to be, but if you keep going into the future, I've got to do this because if I don't do this, this will happen. Or the statements we make as in our child won't get out of bed and we call them lazy. Yeah. They're not lazy. Just that they're in the biological program. They're not in the psychological program. You're up, you've been up an hour or two, and you go, well, look, I've called you 5 times, you're getting up. Yeah. I'm fed up with your laziness, I'm fed up with this. Don't put the judgment on them. Especially when they're in that biological state, that beta state. You're writing on their biology. You're encoding their biology to be demotivated. Yeah. You're encoding their spirit to be uninspired. The sentences we say to others are the sentence we give to others. The judgments we make are the sentences we must endure or the sentences we impose on another human. So when I say freedom and liberty, it's not just taking the mask off and being what some might call vulnerable. Being your true self, in my opinion, isn't vulnerable. But if you believe taking that away and showing people your true self, that needs grit and resilience. No, it doesn't need grit and resilience. Grit and resilience is when, in my opinion, when you're on the battlefield. When you're on the battlefield and stuff's coming at you in real time. When we go into our imagination and we wind ourselves up and we worry about what other people are going to think about us or what they might say about us because we take that battle away, that's drama. And somebody has taught us that we cannot show up as our authentic, honourable, true self because we are concerned with the consequences of the judgments another might say or do. And so that freedom, that liberty, yeah, your freedom is yours, yeah, your future is yours. But if you're writing future fiction and you're making yourself the hero of your own story in your future, then I can assure you you've got a villain in your future. I can assure you there's kryptonite there. It's going to be a fight. So when people say you need resilience to succeed, no, in my opinion, no. It could be heard that way. That means you've got to fight, which means it's going to be a fight.
Yeah.
But if you're aligned, if every single part of your existence is aligned,
yeah,
then other people will hear that and line up. If they're not for you, they move on. They're on their own journey. Because they may call us the human race, but none of us are in a race. Show me the track.
Yeah.
Show me who pulls. Yeah, we might be in a relay event where we pass the baton on. So a bit like you and I. I think you're a brilliant guy. I think you've got a great mission, a great passion, and in my opinion, you're going to help a lot of people. So we're creating the future. But the box is the rules that stops us from creating the future we want.
So would you say that the most important journey, Lee, is the inner journey, in the sense of you got to find, true wealth and success is being yourself. So, I mean, the journey is really, that inner journey is what's the most important one, yeah?
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. I suppose when my stuff's different, I don't think it's different. I think it's quite realistic. But when we talk about mindfulness, and I'm not against mindfulness, brilliant tool. But we've got to the stage now where we need programs on emotional intelligence. Nothing wrong with that for people that need that information, but these should be default skills. Mindfulness is to bring us into the moment. What does that mean? It's to be myself in the moment, free of judgment, free of consequence. So we talk about past, present, and future. In my opinion, there is no past, present, or future. There is just me, and my memories are my past. My perceptions are my future. And what we call the now, the present, is is me. Because if we take me out of my life does not exist. All I have is the virtual memories that have been shared with other people that says I was here. So when we're in this mindfulness state, really all we are is in our true presence, where we want to be, say, more self-aware. I don't want to be more self-aware. I just want to be me. I want to show up in real time, respectfully and honorably to other people and not to myself. I just want to give an example that creates virtual memories in other people that in my future, what I've done in my past is serving me in the now. So no memory have I created, let's say, that will enable me to be in real time and feel shame or disrespect or dishonor. That's where integrity comes in. We all make mistakes. The problem is, and I've made loads of them, but the problem is if you think about it logically, and I'm not saying I'm right, it's only my opinion, it means nothing to me. Yeah? Happily change it if somebody corrects me and it's better than the one I've got. Is I am a stimulus for another human. So are you. The negative and the positive we keep going on about is we already know, let's say in our side of the world, we're not scared of volcanoes, we're not scared of saber-toothed tigers, we're not scared of wild animals, we're not scared of, say, the sun falling out of the sky. So what are we fearful of? What is the thing we are most scared of? And it's another human being. So we are the stimulus, we are the positive or the negative for each other. If we showed up much honorably, with a bit more integrity, less trickery, we could make the world a far better place because we've got the environment as in our home sorted. So the responsibility that I am the stimulus for another human, that does not mean to say I have to change my opinion to match yours. I'm a free individual. I'm entitled to my opinion. It may be wrong. It may be right. But I'm not interested in right or wrong. I'm interested in what is right. I know every child should be safe. Every child should be cared for. Every human should be safe and every human should be cared for. So when we have these mechanisms in our society that devalue or dishonor another human being or confine another human being, then 21st century society should be about liberty, internal liberty. We've already got freedom.
Yeah.
We perceive. But our shackles now are the mortgage. Our shackles now are the 9-to-5 job for the God knows how many years. And we're hopefully, please God, when we get to 67, 68, 69, 70, 80, maybe what age when they let us retire at, that we might have some time to enjoy our life. So that journey that you mentioned, that journey is your life. I take life very seriously. I am not my job. I'm not my career. Yeah. And that change in society is coming. There's nothing wrong with doing the do to get money because that's, let's say, call it capitalism or the way we view the world. But we should not compromise our love. We should not allow our job to take away our relationship. We should, whether that be with our partner or with our son or our daughter, we should not allow the fear of their future career control the communication in the now between us. Look, you need to start getting up in the morning. If you don't, who's going to employ you? Don't start installing fear in them.
Yeah.
Your teacher says you're not doing very well. She thinks there's something wrong with you. I mean, nowadays they've got more letters after a young person's name and they haven't even got a certification. ADHD, dyslexia, dyspraxia. And they go, well, they're all real. No, they're not all real. They're a consequence. They're a consequence of the box. Change your opinions, because it's whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're absolutely right. Whether you think they are or you think they're not, you're absolutely right. Whether you think they're stupid, slow, lazy, you're absolutely right. If you don't think it or feel it, why say it? Yeah. To speak to another human, knowing you are the stimulus for their life, especially when you're a mother or a father or a guardian, to say to your son or your daughter, I know you're a phenomenal person. Yeah. I see an amazing future for you. You might say, oh, that's all pretend. Well, no, it's more, I can imagine whatever I want. Some people put that box on their head when they were a kid and they pretend to be a space person, or a train driver. Yeah. And that's the type of imagination we're using to create our future. And we call that the visualization, the vision board, the meditation. Yeah, that ain't where the threshold is of creation. The threshold of creation is to get rid of the box completely. Yeah. Where you're not in play imagination, you're in real imagination. Where you don't believe it or think it, where you know that everything I think, everything I imagine, everything I feel creates my words, my attitude, my persona, my actions to the real world outside my skin. And how that's perceived will define another human being, will either support or confine another human being. And the closer you are to that human being, the more of an impact you make. And then we have to forgive these people. We have to be grateful that we've survived. Yeah. Why? Because they chose to show up in our world, in our world inside, with a negative. And where we are today, we've got 1,000 books or audio programs or different things. And I don't mean to disrespect that. They're needed, but they're only needed because of the consequence of the wrong stimulus. So I could talk for hours on it, John, but what I do know, and it boils down to this, If you love your wife, your son, your husband, your partner, yeah, tell them. But don't tell them the words, I love you. Go into that love in your heart. Go into that love in your spirit. Let go of the stress and every part of what the world's put on you, and move that. Align for a moment, just for one moment, and say to the person you share your life with, I love you, and mean it with every part of your existence, so every part of their existence hears you. Say it to your daughter, your son. Don't talk to your daughter or your son from the negative judgment. Go back to the moment when you first held them and you were so proud, so connected, and speak from that place to them. And so they hear you. And when they're in doubt, when they're in fear, rather than saying, well, you need to cop on, you need to do this, you need to stop hanging around with him, you need to stop doing that, rather than telling them what they should stop doing, start reminding them of who they are. They're a universal being with an untapped potential. And when we speak to each human, that they are part of the jigsaw puzzle that creates the world we live in. When was the last time you phoned a neighbour to see how they were? When was the last time you dropped an apple pie in for Mrs. Jones, the way it used to be done years ago? Yeah. I mean, anyone that grew up in a farming community, you never had to pay your neighbour for help. All you had to do was ask, and you could ask 24/7, 365, and when you asked, they came. Yeah. Because that was a community. It wasn't a competition. And nobody kept score. If they called to your house at 3 o'clock in the morning because the cow was calving, you didn't go, I was down there last week, I've done it in the last 10 years. Go and see John down the road. It wasn't about that you being put on, it was about you serving. And in my opinion, with COVID, I think we're moving more into that service arena. Yeah. But some would say charity starts at home. Yeah. What 3 things can you do to make another human's life better today? Because it ain't all about you or me. And when we go through life with these mindfulness techniques, nothing wrong with it. Sometimes we need it, but it's not all about grit or resilience. That means you're in a fight. What it's about is showing up as a true stimulus in someone's life and making their moment or their day better. And when you do that with authenticity and integrity, they remember you and their life's better, and try and give them wisdom or an experience that will last them a decade. How long do you want that impact to last? I remember the first time you and I met, and when we got on this, you mentioned a conversation we had.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm still working it all out, and I ain't got all the answers. And some might think I'm putting their journey down in life. I've struggled myself in that, but when you let go of the trauma, the negativity, and realise, I suppose, better I'm speaking from my perspective, I'm not saying I've got the answer for everybody else. For me, I realise that yin and yang doesn't exist. There's no positive or negative. And to me, that's absolutely true. There's a combined energy called yin and yang. It's a bit like you get a glass of water and put, I don't know, a load of blackcurrant in it. How do you get the blackcurrant out? You're making a loaf of bread. You get the flour, you put the eggs in it, you mix it all together. How do you get the eggs back out? Yin and yang is like that. They're both. It's yin and yang, not yin and yang.
Yeah.
And yin and yang, that positive and negative energy that we call, makes life. Yeah. When we have that life, we have the ability to create, because we are the stimulus for another human being. When we create, we can create with the yin energy or the yang energy, or we can create with a united energy, which is neither negative or positive. It just is a united energy. It's not positive, it's not negative. It's just a universal energy. We can separate it. We can go into positive and negative thinking. Yeah. But to me, we live in privileged times, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And low, and we should be living in optimism, not pessimism. So for anyone that's listening or anyone that may hear it, what's your plans for the next 5 years? How certain are you that you're going to achieve them?
Yeah.
And how does it benefit other people other than you?
Yeah.
And that, to me, is the key. Yeah. How does what you do impact on other people's lives in a positive way?
Yeah.
Because when it does, you become the stimulus that serves their life. But when it's about us and we're in this race or this, I said it there, we call us the human race, but I'm not in a race.
Yeah.
I'm not a gladiator in the arena of life.
Yeah.
I'm a collaborator.
Yeah.
The collaborative energy is that united. If you've got a son or a daughter that's struggling, or a partner or a relationship that's on the rocks, I mean, it's on the rocks. Yeah. Didn't you see the lighthouse? I'm in a tunnel. Why go in it in the first place? What part of your journey did you miss? Yeah. It's all right getting in a tunnel. We've all been there. When you get out of the tunnel, will you go in another one? Yeah. Will you blame somebody else for being in? Did they put you in there, pick you up, put you in there? And my language sounds very, I don't know, conflictory, if that's a word. But what I mean by that is that self-awareness we want. Yeah, we can't go through life with our senses out, like, in a sense, those new cars where you get a bit close to the curb, it beeps. You can't go round through life like this, which is how most of us are going through, because we need that grit and resilience. We've always got our guard ready. You know, if he does that, that isn't being an authentic human. Yeah. That's living from a fear that another human's going to hurt you or take advantage of you. That isn't an authentic human. So that self-confidence we want is a form of protection for those other humans. I want to be confident so I've got the comeback. I want to be confident so I don't feel put down. So confidence, it's not that we want confidence. We want other humans to communicate and interact with us in a way where we serve each other. Yeah. So a lot of the personal development world looks at the individual, the I and the me. Transform looks at the I, the me, the we, and the us. How do you, one, get rid of the negative stimulus that's been installed in you, so you can show up as a better stimulus for another human being, where you can serve, communicate, but to be able to do that, you have to put your guard down. You have to let go of this drama in your future, the EastEnders life. Because trust, you can't have trust without safety. So if you're not feeling safe, and the word safety, in my opinion, is a biological term. Confusion or clarity is a psychological term. Joy and happiness or unhappiness or sadness is an emotional term. Uninspired or inspired is a spiritual term. So if I'm a motivational speaker, I motivate the biology. I get them into the motor. If I'm an intellectual speaker, I speak to the mind. If I'm an empathetic speaker, I speak to the heart. If I'm an inspirational speaker, I speak to the passion. So when you're speaking, where are you speaking from? What hard drive? Mind, body, spirit, emotion. So if I'm speaking to my partner, the person I love, logically, I should speak from my heart. If I'm speaking to my son or my daughter, I shouldn't speak from my mind. Mind is judgment. Mind breaks connections. It doesn't make connections. If I'm in that part where they feel lazy or they're not doing the do, that's the biological hard drive. They're not doing the do, which means there's a disconnect between mind and biology. If they're unhappy, there's a disconnect in their heart. They've moved into that hard drive. When we go into mindfulness techniques, they're a very good tool if they're used correctly. They enable the hard drives to align. And what it enables people to do is just to feel another part of themselves. But this separation, mind, body, spirit, and biology, this separation, it's like a combination. And I said there's 24 parts inside. The point of it is, it's as simple as Henry Ford's statement. If you think you can or you think you can't, you're absolutely right. You think you're going to be unhappy in your future, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
If you know you're unhappy and you have a right to be unhappy, and you want to use this word, it won't go down too well possibly, complain about it, then your focus is on the wrong thing. Your focus should be on change, on happiness. But that box is, I can't move on because he or she did this to me. What do you expect me to do? So we take them to the language of forgiveness, where you need to forgive. Look at what you're grateful for in your life. And that questioning, those coaching style questions, allow people to move into that empathy and away from the judgment and the negativity. When we use those questions correctly, we can create that unity and that positivity, that yin and yang, collaborative energy. But then, what do? An hour later, we're back to all the drama again.
Yeah.
And so in many ways, we're medicating it. What Transform does, it doesn't medicate it.
Yeah.
It gives them a process, a system, gives them clarity to know even the time of day it's going to come at you.
Yeah.
And what energy is going to change in you. So whether, John, I talk too much, I know that, but whether it's of use to you.
Loving the conversation, and I could talk all day about it. I love this. So one word I would say to anyone listening is alignment is the word that I would say. Find that alignment for your life, whoever is listening, find that alignment. And if you get the opportunity to work with Tunney Ware, that would be incredible. So how do people find you, Lee? You're mostly through...
I think anyone that's gone through, I think some people, if they're ready to move on, I've had to change my messaging, because I think some people can hear it as a pushback to them. I call people out on themselves.
Yeah.
I'm not judging them. What I mean by I call them out on themselves is their reality, their internal reality is their programming. The way I would see them is they're a Mac in a PC world. Yeah. So if you imagined you're a Mac computer, and everybody else you ever connect with or interact with, they're PCs. A PC cannot install on a Mac computer any of the apps. Yeah. So if you want to take it into modern days, if you're an iPhone, the Android apps won't install on an iPhone. So if whoever listens to this can take anything from what I say, you are an iPhone and everybody else is an Android, and all their apps and all their messaging and all their negativity and everything they do or say or whatever can never be installed on a Mac or an Apple phone.
Yeah.
Now, when they're nice, when they're respectful, when they're honorable, you can install those apps.
Yeah.
If they say, say for example, bear in mind I'm just giving you an example, John. If I say to you, and I don't think this, no way do I even imagine this, but I'm going to use it as an example. If I said, John, you're stupid, I think you're stupid, John. Yeah, that doesn't bother me. If somebody said to me, I think you're stupid, it doesn't bother me. All it says to me is, in their mind, where they think I'm stupid.
Yeah.
Their words mean nothing more to me, just because I can hear the sound, that vibration. That energy does not travel through. I can hear it in my ears. That vibration does not resonate in my mind, in my spirit, in my heart, or my biology. They do not have that right.
Yeah.
Because they are an Android computer or an Android app. So when people say, he said this to me, well, that's fine. I'm not in control of anybody else. I'm not in control of you. But what part of you accepted it? Acceptance of the negativity is your priority to keep yourself safe. So when you say, how do people find you? if they want to move in the shortest, quickest possible time, yeah, and they're happy to let go of all the BS, the belief systems that tell them they can't, they find me absolutely, but they don't find me, they find themselves phenomenal.
Yeah.
Because that's in the language is so transparent. Yeah, it's a bit like venison is deer meat. Am I saying venison is the meat of the deer or venison expensive meat? They find themselves.
Yeah.
When people let go of their BS, their belief systems, because beliefs are lies, when they let go of their belief systems, they truly find themselves. When they let go of their belief systems, they realize the truth is they were never lost in the first place.
Wow.
You can get lost in the real world, but from your skin in, your domain, your territory, your turf, you cannot get lost inside. The feeling of lost inside is letting the androids and the PCs install on your hard drive. And which hard drive? The mind, the heart, the spirit, or the biology? I feel sick to my stomach with what he said. That's the biological hard drive. I was so happy until I met him, and he just drained the life out of me. That's the emotional hard drive.
Yeah.
Yes, which hard drive have they? So a lot of people want to work on mindset. That's mindset. Mind, S-E-T. And bear in mind, I'm dyslexic, so I mean, even me to do that's phenomenal. Mind, S-E-T. Some people's minds are so set they're like concrete.
Yeah.
Mind is only the head top computer. Look how much of my body is my mind here.
Yeah.
Look how much is left. My biology, all through my body, my spirit, my emotions, the empathy. Empathy is for external. So when they feel it in their gut, so if you say I'm stuck, stuck is a physical term, which means you're feeling it in your biology. I just don't feel I can do it. That's emotion. And they even tell you where it is. And we keep going into mindset. Everybody knows what they've got to do. They know how to do it. They just can't seem to connect and get it done.
Yeah.
So that connection between mind and like heart and spirit. And bear in mind, the hard drive of the heart is as corrupt as the hard drive of the mind. How many times has your feelings let you down? How many times have you made a decision from your gut and you still got it wrong?
Yeah.
So but we go into our heart space and think it's more pure, it's more loving, more empathetic. But when we make our decisions in our heart and we don't use logic with it or rationale, then we could be betting on red. We're actually gambling with our life. But when we combine all four hard drives, how does it feel to my stomach? How is it in my heart? Does it make sense in my mind? Is my spirit engaged? When we make aligned decisions, yeah, those types of decisions are always correct. So mindfulness allows you to sort of do that. If you practice the mindfulness techniques about alignment, I don't think they have one for alignment, but if you use some of the teachings you know on mindfulness and do a little exercise in each heart and in the mind. So to put it, and I'll leave you with this, in your mind, what's the thing you're most certain of? Might be your name, might be that's my right hand. The thing in your mind you're most certain of. That means your mind has complete congruency, means there's no doubt or anything in your mind. Now, doubt in mind affects biology. So when we think of doubt, the biology, the fear kicks in. Fear, in my opinion, is in the biology. So in the mind, get a certain thought. It might be as simple as my name is John. That I'm certain of. So that puts the mind into alignment. Then in your heart, what's the most happy experience you've ever felt? Yeah. And if you're unlucky enough that you've never felt a really happy experience, what do you imagine the happy experience, the most happy experience to be? Could be the day your girlfriend or wife told you that you were pregnant, or your partner said, we've been granted the adoption papers. It could be the day you pass your driving test. Whatever made you feel happy, it's irrelevant what makes other people feel happy. They're androids, they're apps. Whatever makes you feel happy. So you get the certainty of mind, you get the emotional experience in your heart. So they're the two things you focus on. The next one's your biology. When did you truly feel good in your biology? And whether you're disabled or not, it's not what you imagine good to be. It's when did you one time in your life feel safe? And you might think, well, I don't know. I've never felt safe. Well, that's fine. Do you imagine when you come into the world and mum or the midwife or somebody was holding you? That was a sense of safety, yes. Then that's your biological feeling for safety. Then what inspires you? What gives you that essence, that excitement, that spirit?
Yeah.
So remember a time you were truly excited. If you haven't got one of those experiences, remember a time or imagine what it would be like. What would have to happen outside? What would others have to do for you to be truly excited? Get those 4 experiences, write them on a piece of paper. And when you use mindfulness, rather than say focusing on the candle flame, or the light, or the smell of a lemon, whatever, they're all external triggers. Go into your internal triggers. Use mindfulness on the inside. Use the inside stimulus that is yours. And what's the difference?
Yeah.
And if you do that technique before you meditate, and meditate with, imagine it's like 4 chakras, not all the chakras, just 4 aligned.
Yeah.
And that consistent flow of energy from one to the other, that vibration of color. And when they resonate, if you put yourself in the right state of being, not state of mind, state of being before you enter into a meditation, the difference inside you, that's freedom and liberty. And whether that makes sense to you, to me, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
but
incredible.
What do you think of it, John? Any criticisms, anything, tell me. I'm willing to.
I absolutely love it. It's very, very inspirational and exciting to have these conversations. And what you mentioned earlier about the importance of every single conversation and what your intention is whenever you do meet someone. And I know for sure that your intention is from the very right place, Lee. So I've been inspired by the conversation, and I hope that our listeners are likewise inspired. And please reach out to Lee, anybody who wants to really transform. Absolutely, Lee. Lee, thank you so much. I'm conscious of your time.
Thank you, sir.
I really appreciate the conversation today. Thank you so much.
And John, thanks for one, having me on, and 2, I'm so pleased with the Holistic Academy. Yeah, you're flying forward. I know you still got loads of areas you want to get into, but it's a phenomenal space, and well done, obviously, even to bring it from conception, from an idea, from imagination into the real world. Yeah. And going forward, I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Lee. And I know that you're a great friend of the Holistic Academy and have been from day one. So I've really been inspired with the conversation today. And really, thank you so much for being my guest today.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Take care, Lee. Take care.
Take care, sir.